December 6th, 2009. On an icy morning in West Valley City, Utah, a loving mother vanishes without a trace. Her husband insists he took their young sons on a midnight camping trip during a raging blizzard. But the cold, unyielding facts and the quiet whispers of suspicion hint at something far more sinister. What if everything you believed about a perfect family was built on a foundation of lies? This opening question sets the stage for a story that will peel back layers of deceit, control, and terror, drawing you deep into the heart of a mystery that remains unsolved. Susan Powell was known to all as warm, compassionate, and devoted to her two small boys, Charlie and Braden, a vibrant soul with dreams of a joyful future. Her gentle smile concealed an inner turmoil that grew with each passing day. Through flashbacks, we learn of her childhood hopes, her struggles to assert her independence, and the quiet desperation that led her to record secret messages warning the world. If only someone would listen. That something was terribly wrong at home. Josh Powell, on the other hand, presented a picture of charm and stability to the outside world. He was a devoted husband and a caring father, yet behind closed doors, his demeanor began to change. His controlling nature, his obsessive fixation on finances, and an unsettling indifference toward Susan's well-being gradually painted a picture of a man whose love had curdled into something dark and possessive. Detailed journal entries and a hastily recorded video from Susan hint at a truth too painful to confront, a truth that even she could not fully escape. In one tear-stained recording, Susan whispered, "If something happens to me, it may not be an accident." Those words would echo throughout the coming years, haunting every corner of the investigation. Within the walls of their modest West Valley City home, tension simmered. Friends recalled hushed conversations about Josh's domineering behavior and his refusal to share financial control. A stark contrast to the loving wife Susan appeared to be. In quiet moments, Susan's eyes told the story. A story of isolation, fear, and a desperate yearning for escape. Long evenings spent in silence, punctuated only by the sound of a ticking clock, the subtle but persistent scent of bleach masking traces of a secret that someone had tried desperately to erase. In whispered confidences, those closest to Susan described the growing emotional isolation and the glimmers of hope that were slowly snuffed out by an atmosphere of control and suspicion. As December 2009 approached, every detail began to take on a foreboding quality. The neighborhood, once familiar and warm, was transformed by a biting cold and an eerie silence. The crisp air was filled with the promise of something dreadful about to unfold. Susan's final days are recounted in heart-wrenching detail, from her last tender moments with her children to the quiet, desperate recordings in which she pleaded for help that never came. The stage is set, a seemingly perfect family, a loving wife slowly suffocated by a controlling husband, and an environment where every creak of the floorboard and every whisper of wind might be hiding a secret too monstrous to imagine. The investigation begins on a cold December morning when Susan Powell is reported missing. As police step into the Powell home, they are immediately struck by the unsettling scene. A purse left carelessly on a table, a damp spot on the living room couch, and an overpowering scent of bleach that seems to mask something far more sinister. Detailed forensic observations paint a picture of deliberate cleaning, a frantic attempt to erase evidence. Every detail is laid out. The angle of the fans, the precision of the wiped-away traces, and the silent testimony of a home that suddenly feels haunted by its own secrets. Josh Powell's explanation is as bizarre as it is unconvincing. He claims that he took his two young sons camping in the dead of winter, a claim that immediately raises red flags among investigators and community members alike. In one dramatic reenactment, a neighbor recalls how Josh's minivan, was seen driving erratically in the bitter cold, the windows fogged and headlights barely cutting through the darkness. As investigators pieced together the timeline, each detail, from the exact time Susan was last seen to the curious withdrawals from her bank accounts, adds a layer of suspicion. The investigation digs deeper, uncovering forensic evidence that contradicts Josh's narrative. Traces of Susan's blood, painstakingly collected from a damp patch on the floor, hint at a struggle that was quickly erased. Digital evidence emerges as well. A sudden liquidation of Susan's retirement funds, an abrupt cancellation of her appointments, and a mysterious change of cell phone that raises more questions than answers. Each piece of evidence is presented with cinematic precision, drawing the listener into the relentless pursuit of truth. The tension is palpable as investigators uncover a trail of digital breadcrumbs, emails, bank statements, and even cryptic text messages that seem to point toward a carefully orchestrated cover-up. The investigation isn't just about cold forensic facts. It's also about the voices of those left behind. Heartbreaking interviews with Susan's closest friends, family members, and even the children themselves reveal a story of hidden terror. In one particularly chilling moment, the older son, Charlie, is interviewed by police. With eyes too old for his age, he recounts a memory of that fateful night. "Mommy went camping with us, but she didn't come back." His words, spoken with the innocence of a child, yet carrying the weight of unspeakable loss, send shivers down the spine of everyone who hears them. As the investigation progresses, a disturbing revelation comes to light: the obsessive behavior of Josh's father, Steve Powell. Secret journals, hidden video recordings, and a cache of disturbing photographs reveal that Stephen had long harbored an unhealthy fixation on Susan. Detailed accounts describe how Stephen would spy on Susan, capturing her moments of vulnerability and intimacy without her knowledge. His actions, once dismissed as eccentricity by family members, now take on a far darker significance. The tension escalates as investigators begin to suspect that this obsession might have played a role in the tragic events that followed. Every new piece of evidence builds a picture of a web of lies, a story where trust was betrayed, secrets were hidden behind closed doors, and the truth was obscured by layers of deceit. The investigation section is punctuated with cliffhangers and dramatic pauses, ensuring that the audience is left clamoring for more answers. For 2 long years, Susan's family fought for answers, clinging to hope even as the mounting evidence suggested that something unspeakable had occurred. As custody battles over Charlie and Braden ensued, every moment of interaction with their father became a potential warning sign. Courtroom scenes are described in vivid detail. The tearful pleas of Susan's parents, the icy, clinical statements of legal experts, and the palpable tension in every exchanged glance. During supervised visits, the children's subtle remarks, a drawing of a van with 3 figures, or a whispered comment that "Mommy is in the trunk," begin to hint at a horrifying truth that no one dares to fully acknowledge. Then, on a fateful day in February 2012, everything changes. The narrative shifts into a heart-stopping, almost surreal sequence of events during a scheduled, supervised visit. As a social worker arrives at the Powell residence, the atmosphere is already charged with dread. Detailed, minute-by-minute accounts reveal how, the moment the children cross the threshold, Josh Powell's demeanor shifts from cold indifference to something far more menacing. In a series of dramatic, breathless descriptions, we follow the unfolding tragedy. The abrupt locking of the door, the overwhelming stench of gasoline, the frantic pounding of a social worker outside, and finally, the explosion that consumes the house in a raging inferno. Every sound, every heartbeat, and every agonized cry is captured in cinematic detail, leaving the audience breathless and reeling from the shock. The explosion not only claims the lives of Josh and his 2 young sons, It shatters the fragile hope that had sustained Susan's family through years of uncertainty. In the immediate aftermath, the community is plunged into a state of collective mourning and anger. News footage, radio interviews, and tear-stained accounts from grieving relatives are woven into the narrative, creating a tapestry of sorrow and outrage. The revelation that all the warning signs had been there, ignored, dismissed, or hidden behind bureaucratic indifference, hits like a sledgehammer. The twist in the investigation isn't merely in the act itself, but in the realization that the system designed to protect the innocent had failed them. The narrative challenges the listener. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Were there voices that went unheard and warnings that were dismissed? Even after the horrific events of February 2012, the mystery of Susan Powell's disappearance remains unsolved. Despite the explosion, no trace of her body has ever been found, leaving behind a void of unanswered questions that continue to haunt investigators and her loved ones alike. Every theory is presented with both investigative rigor and emotional weight, drawing the listener into the endless search for truth. The tragedy of the Powell family spurred not only public outcry, but also significant legal and policy changes. Detailed accounts of court battles over Susan's estate, the long-term fight by her parents to have her declared legally dead, and the subsequent reforms in child protective services form a powerful narrative about how one family's tragedy can alter the course of policy and bring about change. Interviews with legal experts, child welfare advocates, and even legislators are interspersed with personal reflections from Susan's family. These voices create a chorus of determination and sorrow, a reminder that while justice may be delayed, the memory of Susan Powell fuels an unyielding quest for accountability. Despite years of investigation, Susan Powell's fate remains a mystery, and the unresolved nature of the case leaves a lingering, bittersweet ache. In a world where secrets can kill, will we ever learn to speak the truth before it's too late? This final note is both a tribute to Susan's memory and a challenge to society, a plea to never let another tragedy go unanswered.